These are regular killer whales with their usual skills, like creating waves. They have ruled the oceans for many years, gathering experience and resources, but all that changed when new developments brought some updates, and suddenly, other types of killer whales appeared on the planet. This is actually an unusual topic. In fact, killer whales look almost identical, so it's no wonder that a new type of them was only discovered recently. But each one of them is fundamentally different, and they don't even mate with each other. Just remember to hit the like button. Now, let's get started. Scientists frequently discover new species of animals, but they are often small, inconspicuous, and live in remote places. That's why hearing about a new type of killer whale seems unbelievable, especially since all killer whales are currently classified as a single species, known as Orcanus orca. Biologists divide killer whales into different groups, but they call them ecotypes. There are 10 ecotypes in total, but we're only interested in 2, the resident and the transient. A new study suggests that resident and transient killer whales may actually be separate species, not just ecotypes as we previously thought. And it's possible that by 2024 these updates will be officially recognized. Therefore, there will be 3 types of killer whales: resident, transient, and regular. Resident killer whales do not mate with the migratory ones, even if they live in the same waters, which is strange behavior for creatures of the same species. Also, based on DNA, it appears that both groups of killer whales split apart about 300,000 years ago. Nowadays, they avoid each other and can become aggressive if they encounter one another, even though they belong to the same group. And if scientists reach an agreement, it will be the first major update to the classification of killer whales since 1874. What distinguishes these new types of killer whales from the ones they are considering calling ordinary? They discovered that the transient whales live far out in the open ocean and feed on mammals, while the resident whales do the exact opposite. Identifying transient killer whales is not difficult if you know where to look. Nature didn't give them fancy new skins, but you'll notice they're larger in size with triangular dorsal fins. Their jaws are stronger and more curved, perhaps because they need to handle a meal that weighs half a ton, which is the average weight of a sea lion. There have also been some changes in length, as the average length of transient whales is about 20 inches longer than their relatives. The killer whales also had to upgrade their weapons, so now they have stronger jaws. They also got an upgrade to their teeth, as they now have fangs similar to those of brown bears, which adds a few points to their intimidation and physical impact. Scientists have noticed that migratory killer whales have more worn teeth with flat tips compared to all other whales. These teeth are perfect for crushing bones and tough hides, which is necessary when hunting large mammals. When they're closer to shore, it's not as important, but migratory killer whales tend to keep moving constantly, so endurance is important here. Killer whale tactics include surprise attacks, which require wide hunting areas to be effective. Otherwise, the prey will anticipate the attacks. That's why they stay on the move all the time. When seals or dolphins catch the scent of killer whales, they become harder to hunt, but migratory killer whales are very good at it. In stealth mode, killer whale pods work best when they consist of 3 to 7 members, all closely connected to each other, which makes hunting easier and adds at least 10 points to their stealth. Migratory killer whales track and silently surprise their prey. They never use echolocation. They rely on passive listening during their ambushes, because using echolocation would reveal their location to the prey. Killer whales have excellent hearing. They can even pick up sounds like heartbeats or the splash made by a dolphin. Although it's clear that their hearing could use more advantages, scientists point out that the hearing of migrating killer whales can be negatively affected by underwater noise from ships. However, this doesn't seem to affect the number of whales much, because the update has also improved their survival rates. There is more prey available for the migrating killer whales, and over a 20-year period, from 1990 to 2010, the number of these animals doubled from 120 to 280. The migrating killer whales are not threatened by upheavals. They have plenty of offspring, and they eat a lot of marine mammals. When it comes to hunting, killer whales can toss a seal up to 80 feet into the air. Killer whales actually use their tails frequently to hit seals, not because they enjoy it, well, maybe not just for that, but because marine mammals like seals have sharp claws and teeth that can hurt whoever attacks them. Here, intelligence becomes important for maneuvering safely around the prey and hunting it, as the whale weakens it, and the tail strike works perfectly. What? What about the resident killer whales? Today, in the Pacific Northwest, there are two main groups of these whales. One group lives in the north and another in the south. Depending on their habitat, they feed mainly on salmon. Although the resident killer whales that prefer Alaskan waters may add some other types of fish to their diet, they never include mammals in their meals. For this reason, resident killer whales lose intimidation points. Dolphins and seals often swim next to them without any fear. How are resident killer whales different from other types? Well, they live in large groups, find their food as a group, and prefer to live near the shore. Also, their dorsal fins are more rounded, and their skulls and teeth look different compared to transient killer whales. Even the sounds they make are different. Experts who have studied killer whales closely have noticed this difference for a long time. They have considered the idea of dealing with different types, but the scientific community is slow. It took more than 40 years for them to finally acknowledge the obvious, which is that resident killer whales are a different type. Resident killer whales are smaller in size, maybe it's better for them to be smaller, for deep diving to search for salmon. And this is partly why resident killer whales are listed as an endangered species. But resident killer whales have definitely improved their appeal points. Catching salmon requires specific knowledge, because these fish migrate to different places at different times of the year, and the whales need to know where to go to find them again. Finding food. This information is passed down from generation to generation, and an individual's chances of survival increase if he sticks with his group and its traditions. This creates these huge family groups, where the young gain experience points from the elders and then pass them on to the next generation. Passing on knowledge is crucial. If young killer whales don't gain experience points from their families, they won't get them from anywhere else. Take the southern resident killer whales, for example. Their numbers have dropped significantly because the mothers who carry all the knowledge and help the young learn have died. Another great feature in the update is the upgraded weapons. Hunting doesn't wear down their teeth much, and their teeth are perfect for catching slippery prey thanks to the small, sharp edges. This adds to the crowd control effect, making it easy to get food even if it's wriggling and slippery, just like fish should be. Well, if you're curious to know my opinion on this, I think these updates are good, and I hope the scientific community appreciates them too.